Jai Prabhupada, Jai Srila Prabhupada. Jaya Guru Deva, Gurudev, Gurudev. Jai Gurudev, Jai Srila Gurudev. Jai Shri Shri Radha Kalachan Ji ki Jai, Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Nitai Gaur Premanandi. Hari Hari Bo. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Let's chant the next verse together. Narayanam namaskrityam naram chaiva narottamam devim saraswatim vyasam tato jayamudirayet nashtaprayeshu bhadreshu nityam bhagavata sevaya bhagavati uttama shloke bhaktir bhavati nashtaki. Granthrat Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Hare Krishna. Thank you so much for coming for our morning Bhagavatam class. We're reading from Canto 6 and Chapter 5, Narad Muni cursed by Prajapati Daksha. Today we continue from text 34 till the last verse, that is 44. There are lots of lessons for us to learn as devotees from this chapter. We'll discuss about those in later. Okay, get the mic. Should I start reading? Text 34.
At this time, Prajapati Daksha observed many inauspicious signs, and he heard from various sources that his second group of sons, the Savalashvas, had followed the path of their elder brothers in accordance with the instructions of Narada.
When he heard that the Savalasvas had also left this world to engage in devotional service, Daksha was angry at Narada, and he almost fainted due to the lamentation. When Daksha met Narada, Daksha's lips began trembling in anger, and he spoke as follows.
Prajapati Daksha said, "Alas, Narada Muni, you wear the dress of a saintly person, but you are not actually a saint. Indeed, although I am now in Grihastha life, I am a saintly person. By showing my sons the path of renunciation, you have done me an
Abominable
injustice."
Text 37. Prajapati Daksha said, "My sons were not at all freed from their 3 debts. Indeed, they did not properly consider their obligations. O Narada Muni, O personality of sinful action, you have obstructed their progress toward good fortune in this world and the next, because they are still indebted to the saintly persons, the demigods and their father."
Prajapati Daksha continued, thus committing violence against other living entities and yet claiming to be an associate of Lord Vishnu, you are defaming the Supreme Personality of Godhead. You needlessly created a mentality of renunciation in innocent boys, and therefore you are shameless and devoid of compassion. How could you travel with the personal associate of the Supreme Lord?
That's such a big allegation. on Narad Muni.
All the devotees of the Lord, but you are very kind to the conditioned souls and are eager to benefit others. Although you wear the dress of a devotee, you create enmity with people who are not your enemies, or you break friendship and create enmity between friends. Are you not ashamed of posing as a devotee while performing these abominable actions?
Can you believe how Prajapati Daksha is just jabbing non-stop at Narad Muni?
Let me do it again.
Text 40.
Prajapati Daksha continued, if you think that simply awakening the sense of renunciation will detach one from the material world, I must say that unless full knowledge is awakened, simply changing dresses as you have done cannot possibly bring detachment.
Material enjoyment is indeed the cause of all unhappiness, but one cannot give it up unless one has personally experienced how much suffering it is. Therefore, one should be allowed to remain in so-called material enjoyment while simultaneously advancing in knowledge to experience the misery of false material happiness. Hare Krishna. Then, without help from others, one will find material enjoyment detestful. Those whose minds are changed by others do not become as renounced as those who have personal experience.
Although I live in household life with my wife and children, I honestly follow the Vedic injunctions by engaging in fruitive activities to enjoy life without sinful reactions. I perform all kinds of yagyas, including the Deva Yagya, Rishi Yagya, Pitri Yagya, and Nri Yagya. Because these yagas are called vratas, vows, I am known as Griha Vrata. Unfortunately, you have given me great displeasure by misguiding my sons for no reason to the path of renunciation. This can be tolerated once.
You have made me lose my sons once, and now you have again done the same inauspicious thing. Therefore you are a rascal who does not know how to behave towards others. You may travel all over the universe, but I curse you to have no residence anywhere.
Oh, Krishna.
Shri Shukadev Goswami continued, since Narada Muni is an approved saintly person, when cursed by Prajapati Daksha, he replied, Tad Badam, yes, what you have said is good. I accept this curse. He could have cursed Prajapati Daksha in return, but because he is a tolerant and merciful sadhu, he took no action.
This is also our focus text today, text 44. So let's recite this verse. Please repeat after me. Shri Shuka Uvacha Pratijagraha Tatpadham Naradaha Sadhu Sammataha Etavan Sadhu Vadohi तितिक्षेतश्वरः स्वयं प्रतिजाग्रह तत्पाधां नारदः साधु सम्मतः एतावान् साधुवादो हि तितिक्षेतश्वरः स्वयं. प्रतिजाग्राह तद्बाधां नारदः साधु सम्मतः एतावान् साधुवादो हि तितिक्षेतेश्वरः स्वयं. Shuka uvacha Pratijagraha tad badham Naradaha sadhu sammataha Etavan sadhu vadohi Titiksheta swayam. Mataji's. Shri Shuka uvacha Pratijagraha tad badham Narada sadhu sammataha Etavan sadhu vadohi Titiksheta swayam. Okay. Word to word translation. Shri Shuka, we can read this together. Shri Shuka uvacha, Shri Shukadev Goswami said, Pratijagraha, accepted, tat, that, badham, so be it, Naradaha, Narad Muni, Sadhu Sammataha, who is an approved sadhu, Etavan, this much, Sadhu Vadaha, appropriate for a saintly person, he, indeed, Titiksheta, he may tolerate, Ishwaraha, although able to curse Prajapati Daksha, Swayam, himself. Translation and purport by A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Shri Shukadev Goswami continued, My dear king, since Narad Muni is an approved saintly person, when cursed by Prajapati Daksha, he replied, Tad badham. Yes, what you have said is good. I accept this curse. He could have cursed Prajapati Daksha in return, but because he is a tolerant and merciful sadhu, he took no action. As stated in Srimad Bhagavatam, Titikshavaha karunikaha suhridaha sarvadehinam ajata satrava shantaha sadhava sadhu bhushanaha. The symptoms of a sadhu are that he is tolerant, merciful and friendly to all living entities. He has no enemies, he is peaceful, he abides by the scriptures, and all his characteristics are sublime. Because Narad Muni is the most elevated of sadhus, devotees, to deliver Prajapati Daksha, he silently tolerated the curse. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has taught this principle to all his devotees. Trinadapi sunichena tarorapi sahishnana amanina manadena kirtaniya sadahari. One should chant the holy name of the Lord in a humble state of mind, thinking oneself lower than the straw in the street. One should be more tolerant than a tree, devoid of all sense of false prestige, and should be ready to offer all respects to others. In such a state of mind, one can chant the holy name of the Lord constantly. Following the orders of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, one who preaches the glories of the Lord all over the world or all over the universe should be humbler than grass and more tolerant than a tree, because the preacher cannot live an easygoing life. Indeed, a preacher must face many impediments. Must face. Not only is he sometimes cursed, but sometimes he must also suffer personal injury. For example, when Nityanand Prabhu went to preach Krishna consciousness to the two roguish brothers, Jagai and Madai, they injured him and made his head bleed, but nevertheless he tolerantly delivered the two rogues, who became perfect Vaishnavas. This is the duty of a preacher. Lord Jesus Christ even tolerated crucifixion. Therefore, the curse against Narad was not very astonishing. He tolerated it. Now it may be asked why Narad Muni stayed in the presence of Prajapati Daksha and tolerated all his accusations and curses. Was that for Daksha's deliverance? The answer is yes. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says that after being insulted by Prajapati Daksha, Narad Muni should have left immediately, but he purposely stayed to hear all Daksha's strong words, so that Daksha might be relieved of his anger. Prajapati Daksha was not an ordinary man. He had accumulated the results of many pious activities. Therefore, Narad Muni expected that after delivering his curse, Daksha, satisfied and freed from anger, would repent his misbehavior and thus get a chance to become a Vaishnava and be delivered. When Jagai and Madai offended Lord Nityanand, Lord Nityanand stood tolerantly, and therefore both brothers fell at his lotus feet and repented. Consequently, they later became perfect Vaishnavas. Thus end the Bhaktivedanta purport of the 6th canto, 5th chapter of Srimad Bhagavatam, entitled Narad Muni cursed by Prajapati Daksha. Drum roll. Om Jnana Timirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashyate Deshatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaitva Gathadara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So we all know what's happening in this chapter. Prajapati Daksha's thousands of sons. The first batch got knowledge from Narad Muni. And Prajapati Daksha's desire was that my kids, my sons, would become nice grihastas and further have amazing children. And that was his desire, for which he had sent all his sons to perform austerities. And unfortunately for Daksha, but fortunately, those sons happened to meet Narad Muni, the great sage. Narad Muni is a wonderful personality in Srimad Bhagavatam. There are so many amazing disciples of Narad Muni. And so he met these sons and he delivered them. He gave them knowledge and sent them for the right path of devotional service. And when Daksha got this news, he was very hurt, but he again had thousands of sons, and those sons also happened to meet Narad Muni. They went to the same place for austerities, and Narad Muni was there. And he gave knowledge to them as well, and they also followed the path their elder brothers had followed. Now when Daksha heard about this, he was about to faint because he was lamenting so much, and he got extremely angry. Why? Because his desire was not that his sons perform devotional service, but they perform, it was from a materialistic point of view, that they have nice sons in the future and they can follow, they can have further progeny. And so he got really angry. So what happened when Daksha got angry? His lips were trembling. He was full of anger and his lips were trembling, and he went to Narad Muni and he spoke. He charged him with harsh words. Now, why did he get angry? Because did Narad Muni do anything wrong? No, he did the perfect job. He elevated them. He gave them the highest knowledge and sent to the Supreme Lord. But just like in Bhagavad Gita, we see that not all people approach God with the same kind of desire. Some people approach to get relief from the miseries they are experiencing. The first part is few devotees who reach when they are distressed. So they approach the Supreme Lord. Some approach for their benefits. Some are inquisitive, jigyasa, and some who want to get knowledge. And so here, Prajapati Daksha did not send his sons to get knowledge, did not send his sons to get delivered. His motive was that he wanted something in return. And that's why these austerities were performed. And we see that this is what happens when sometimes we get extremely angry. First of all, the reason of anger is that there is an attachment behind it. We get attached to, we set an expectation, we get attached to something, and we kind of go ahead with that notion. And when that doesn't get fulfilled, that makes us extremely angry. And that is what Prajapati Daksha is showing us here. And he's no ordinary person. He's this conversation that is going to take place between Daksha and Narad Muni, this is not an ordinary conversation. This is very knowledgeable. This is even Daksha has so many has fruits of austerities that has been performed through years and years. So it's really interesting what are the things that he accuses Narad Muni of. First of all, he says that you are wearing the dress of a saint, but what you have done is not at all saintly. And he says that I'm a grihastha, and like sometimes we see a lot of people in the material world where, parents get really upset when they see their sons have joined the Krishna conscious movement and they fear that the son might become a brahmachari. And they say, do whatever you want, but don't get so deep in bhakti. Like, it's good. Do lukewarm, like nice, you respect God, you have an idea of it, you do some worshipping, but don't get so surrendered. And that is what their fear is, because then my son will not get married. And especially they get scared when they shave their heads and avashika and they're like, no. They get extremely angry. And even though Daksha is himself, so he's not practicing as a grihastha, this is a grihamedi mentality. When you decide to become a parent, you're only eligible to become a parent when you can give spiritual knowledge to your kids. Otherwise, you shouldn't become a parent, because you're bringing a new soul. You're going to bring a new soul, and you decide that, okay, I'm not going to give him the knowledge of the Supreme. That's the biggest offense that you can do. And you don't deserve to be, Bhagavatam says that you can only decide to have kids or enter Grihast ashram, for that matter, when you want to produce Krishna conscious kids. So here, Daksha is accusing Narad Muni that how can you make them renounced? How can you make them follow the path of renounced order? How can you do that? They are my sons. And Narad Muni is just listening. He's just listening, one accusation, one allegation after another. And he says that, Narad Muni, you are a brahmachari. You could beg from door to door. And you had made sannyasis out of my sons who were being trained to be grihasthas. Now, we should understand it's not that one ashram is higher than the other. Like sannyasis are higher than grihasthas, or grihasthas are higher than sannyasis. No. It's each ashram means taking shelter. So when you take shelter of one path, you need to know the rules, you need to know the principles that is there in that particular ashram. So if as a sannyasi, you can follow your path, your duties perfectly, then that's good. But if you are as a grihastha, you can follow it perfectly, then that's great. So the point is that none of them is higher than the other. So there was no need of any lamentation here that Daksha is showing. And further, his argument is that you made them sannyasis, or you make them leave this path of grihastha ashram, and I have 3 debts. Like as a family, he says that my sons were not at all freed from their 3 debts. What are the 3 debts? So as soon as a Brahmana takes birth, he assumes 3 kinds of debts. Debts to great saints, debts to the demigods, and debts to his father. To great saints, demigods, and father. And when you have children, you get into Grihastha ashram, you have children, so you get freed of those debts. But it is said that all of us have so many debts to a lot of demigods. Like we are indebted to Vayudev. Why? Because we're getting air. To lots of demigods around us who are controlling so many things that we have been blessed with. So that way we have unlimited debts. We have debts even towards people who does something, like somebody does something for us. We are quickly indebted to them. But it's said that when you perform devotional service, when your one point focus is serving Krishna, then you're automatically freed from all kinds of debts that you have. So whatever argument Daksha is, whatever accusation he's throwing at Narad Muni already knows all of this, and he has taken the highest step, the perfection, to connect those children to the Supreme Lord. And he also says that, my sons were innocent. This is something we keep hearing, right? Oh, my kids are so innocent. You brainwash them with Krishna consciousness. They are such innocent kids. So Daksha, you can see that Prabhupada in all the purports, in these few purports, constantly says that this is what Prabhupada is saying that we've been experiencing in Krishna conscious movement. This is that time when Prabhupada said that parents of my disciples or, the people who are coming to my classes, their parents come and they feel the same. They get very angry. And so he's also blaming Narad Muni that you're a devotee of the Lord. Aren't you supposed to be like kind to the conditioned souls? And here what you have done, wearing a dress of a devotee, and you have created enmity with people who are not your enemies, or you're breaking friendship, or you're creating enmity between friends. Aren't you ashamed of posing as a devotee while performing these abominable actions? These are some huge accusations that Daksha is throwing at Narad Muni. And one point he makes which is sensible, he says that, this is text 40, that if you think that simply awakening the sense of renunciation will detach one from the material world, I must say that unless full knowledge is awakened, simply changing dress as you have done cannot possibly bring detachment. So the point that he is making is correct, that you cannot make somebody renounced if they are not in complete knowledge, which means it cannot be imitated or it cannot be brought upon immaturely. So there needs to be knowledge. But his principle is correct, but his assumption is wrong that Narad Muni has done that. Narad Muni gave complete knowledge to the sons of Daksha. And moreover, when we talk about knowledge and detachment, renunciation, a lot of Munis, sages try to run after these two things. You will see many schools of philosophy, spirituality, where they try to run after seeking knowledge and being detached. But Srila Prabhupada says that if you try to do this individually, you might not be able to get this in perfection. But when you perform bhakti, the natural byproduct of performing bhakti is that you get knowledge and that you get renounced, that you get detached. So Jnana and Vairagya are byproducts of bhakti. This is such a nice point, and you will see that over the years when you are performing bhakti, you have gained so much knowledge. There was no intention that, okay, I want to just become a jnani. That was not the intention. When the intention was you want to become a nice devotee, you want to be surrendered, you want to fall in so much more in love with Krishna, you want to have full faith in him, automatically Krishna gives more knowledge. But until and unless you're approaching Krishna with faith, you don't get that knowledge. You don't get supreme knowledge, what we talk about. And detachment also comes naturally. You will see that over the years, you probably do not like watching the films that you used to watch, or listening to songs that you used to listen, or hanging out with friends and going to parties that maybe used to attract a few years ago. So this detachment comes naturally. It's not fake, it's not immature, it comes naturally, it gets mature with time. So devotees try to practice devotional service, and automatically Jnana and Vairagya are the byproducts. And he also makes one more point. So you see these things that Daksha is saying, he's not like a layman over here. He has knowledge. He says one more thing, that material enjoyment is indeed the cause of all unhappiness. So, but one cannot give it up unless one has personally experienced how much suffering it is. Isn't it true that if we are enjoying life, we are getting everything good, we might not be able to question the higher purpose or think or or yes, might get into God consciousness, but not be fully into it until and unless there's some misery that you have experienced, or there is some suffering you have gone through. Especially now also, we are beyond material life, material world surrounded with Maya. There are times that we feel, we go through some kind of suffering, right? It could be financially, it could be socially, it could be health-wise. There could be a lot of sufferings that, we go through. It could be my husband is not listening to me, my kids are not listening to me, my wife is not listening to me, my boss, he's such a unbelievable person, I'm having a hard time. And there is so much suffering at every step. But only that helps us actually get closer to believing more so that this, what Prabhupada is saying in Bhagavatam, is all true. That I want to follow this. I really want to get out of this material world. So suffering really helps us if we have Shastra Chakshu. If we don't have Shastra Chakshu, then we'll be just frustrated. Like wonderful example of Prahlad Maharaj. He had suffering all around him. He could have been easily mentally frustrated, emotionally frustrated. His own father is trying to kill him. Imagine a situation today like this. But he was always in bliss because he was constantly associating with Vishnu. He was always remembering the Lord. And that is why that material suffering doesn't turn into frustration. There's one amazing saying that I really like, that misery is inevitable, but suffering is optional. The miseries are going to be there. We're just surrounded by misery at all times, mentally, spiritually. I won't say spiritually, but mentally, physically, financially, emotionally, everything. But suffering is still an option. So if you have Shastra Chakshu, the scriptural vision towards life, towards everything that is around you, then that becomes a trigger for you to become more surrendered in your bhakti, to perform your services, your mood so nicely. You get so deep in your sadhana. And so all these points have been made, and we are going to come to this part, that how Narad Muni reacts to it. This is the most important thing for our discussion today. Narad Muni is just standing there listening to Prajapati Daksha, even though he is wrong. Even though whatever he's saying, he is wrong. But Narad Muni is just standing and listening. And why? Because he wants to deliver Prajapati Daksha also. Now this is the mood of a preacher. If somebody attacks us verbally or physically, yesterday Mother Kunti was giving such an amazing insight into whatever had happened at the airport and the stories that she was sharing. It's not easy to be a preacher. People will come and attack you. And even if you're not a preacher, even if you're just a human being, people are going to attack you all the time. But how Narad Muni is handling with it is because there's this word that comes in text 44, because he's sadhu sammataha. He was an approved sadhu. He's not like a fake sadhu, stamped. No, he's approved, bona fide sadhu. Narad Muni's life and purpose is just to preach about Krishna. And when he is cursed by Daksha, that you cannot stay at one place, you cannot have one residence, for more than 3 days you cannot stay in one place. Narad Muni smiles and says, whatever you have said is right and I accept it. But you see how he has turned this curse into a blessing? Narad Muni travels through all the 3 worlds, through universes, and he's preaching about Krishna. He's turned that curse into a blessing. He could have sulked that, okay, I'm a preacher and I cannot stay in more than 3 days in one place. He could have sulked about it. But he's accepting it. And he's just traveling everywhere, preaching about Krishna. What a beautiful way to turn a curse into a blessing. That's what Parikshit Maharaj also did. He was cursed by Shringi. And then he went to the sadhus and he asked him he decided that this is what I'm going to do, but he wanted to get it approved by the great sages, and they said, yes, we are with you and we'll be here till next 7 days. And that's how Srimad Bhagavatam came. So when we are going to be in situations where people are going to attack us, people are going to say things that we don't like. But we don't have to take an offense, because first of all, it is for my purification that somebody's attacking me or saying things. Especially, it's very hard to just imagine any situation. Somebody might think that, okay, only grihasthas go through it. Somebody might think brahmacharis don't go through it. They live in a temple. No. Everywhere it happens. Even if you're living in a community, in a temple, everybody has different nature. And there will be times where you will be attacked for what you're doing is not right, or somebody knows much better than you, so they will say things to you that you will not like. So how do we deal with that situation? How do we deal with it? We learn from situations like these, like Narad Muni has shown from his amazing nature, from his behavior, that you just listen, you just tolerate. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said you have to tolerate. Imagine how hard you have to be. You have to be humbler than a grass. In summers, trees, and be more tolerant than a tree. In summers, how hard is it for trees and grass? Let's say for a few months there's no nice rain, and they still produce nice sweet mangoes. They still give you shade. So not just that you have to accept criticism, you have to accept it at all times. Not just that, okay, because this devotee is close to me, so I will listen when she's scolding me or when he's scolding me. Anybody. You have to tolerate it at all times. And offer respect to everybody at all times. That's so hard, right? To offer respect, okay, I understand. But to offer respect at all times to each and every living entity. But that's what makes you humble. And in return, you do not expect respect. As devotees, we might have, there's so many qualities that we can aspire for, right? Let's suppose you have all these qualities. Imagine somebody you really look up to in your bhakti life. I'm sure everybody has a role model. We should have a role model that helps us to have some standard set that this is how I want to be. And imagine a person has all the qualities but lacks humility. It's such a big thing when you lack humility, because you can easily forget. You might have all the qualities. You do nice kirtan, you have all the knowledge, you give good classes, you do nice vigraha seva, you dress the deities nicely, you cook very nicely for Kalachandji, everything, but you're not humble. But imagine you have no other quality, but you are humble. Who would you feel more loved towards? The one who is humble. Because somebody who is humble, you will feel so much love towards them, and you'll want to serve that person. Why? Because every time you will meet that person, you will feel so much purity emanating, and that'll attract you. So even if we have no quality, which is true, we have no qualities, but if we can try to be humble, and how can we be humble? When we deal with provocative situations and we tolerate them. That's like how a diamond comes into existence. Like you keep sharpening it, chiseling it, right, with a stone. And it is constantly being attacked with a stone. You're constantly sharpening it. And then the final product is the diamond who has great value. So imagine we are also in process. We're being constantly chiseled, constantly being attacked. And that is when we'll become good devotees. We'll become a devotee, actually. Nityanand Prabhu, he's the Lord himself. But when he was also preaching in Kali Yuga 36 years ago, even he had to deal with Jaga and Madai. Why? What is the point of dealing with them? Because he wanted them to become Vaishnavas. So for other people's delivery, you need to tolerate such situations. That is where you become real compassionate. And there was one point I was going to make. So when you keep listening to these things, it's purification for both. Now, imagine somebody is extremely angry, and you stop them midway, and you try to give your logic, your argument. The other person will be more aggravated, will be more triggered in that situation. So the sensible way is to let them vent out. And that's what you'll see, especially when couples argue. The problem is not big. Or when friends argue, the problem is not very big. It's how they don't let the other person, they don't listen to the other person. But when you listen, when you pause, and when you let the person be like, okay, you went out, just say whatever you want to say. And that's what Narad Muni wanted to do. He wanted to let Prajapati Daksha went out all the anger, and suddenly after that he repented. When do you often have experienced it, at least I have, that when you say so much, you get so angry, and later on you start feeling guilty. Oh, I didn't have to say so much. I could have taken a break, gone out, gone for a walk, came back and sorted my thoughts, and could have placed them in a much more subtle, logical way. So this is our human psyche. We'll feel angry, or we'll feel guilty, or accept that there was my mistake as well, when we have letting it out of our system. So if somebody is in that zone, let them vent out. Let them say whatever they want. I know it's really hard to be on the other side where you have to just listen, but that's going to help. And that's going to help. Why? Because when we remember our only purpose is to be closer to Krishna and help others to get closer to Krishna. Srila Prabhupada says, one disciple asked him that, what is humility, Srila Prabhupada? And Srila Prabhupada said that when you're convinced that there is nothing that can save you, which is your education, your family, your husband, wife, kids, your degrees, your job, none of it can save you, but only the mercy of Krishna. When you truly believe that, that is when you become humble. Now think about this statement, what it really means. What is Prabhupada trying to say? That means any situation that you're in, you know that none of these relationships that I have is going to save me. It's only the grace of Krishna. And that makes you humble, because you realize that whatever is happening around you, you need to accept, because it's Krishna doing it. And that's when you accept all the attacks, all the thunderbolts of words and situations that you're put into. When you know it's Krishna's doing. And so Narad Muni did not interrupt Daksha even till the point that he wanted to curse him. He cursed him, and Narad Muni just said, I accept it. Yes, what you have said is good. I accept this curse. That is the nature of a devotee. That is the standard Narad Muni is setting for us. And one more point Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur makes in the purport that Srila Prabhupada says is that at that situation, Narad Muni could have left the premises. And this is what as modern logistics, and we say, if you can't tolerate somebody, just leave that place. That's what we say, right? Like, okay, have distance. At least if you can't attack, be distant from that person. And that's what we usually try to follow, because we are not at that level right now that we can stay there. But the highest standard is when you stay there and when you let the person vent out and you just smile and you, Hare Krishna, thank you so much. What you have said is right. That's so hard. But this is the highest standard. If there's any, I think we can pause here. If there's any corrections, any questions, or any reflections anybody wants to share, please go ahead. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Jai.
First of all, thank you so much for such a wonderful lecture full of so many realizations. And over the course of the decades, it's fascinating to see how many things become revealed if you stay with the process. However, about 25 years ago, Tamal Krishna Goswami chastised me, and I could never quite understand this chastisement. And as the representative of Vyas, I think Krishna perhaps can answer this question. You mentioned the difference between misery and suffering. Now, certainly I can understand misery as an old man. And what he said to me was, you think spiritual life is suffering. Now, you mentioned suffering is a choice. So could you elaborate the difference between misery and suffering? Thank you.
Thank you, Prabhuji. So misery, what I understand is that the physical situations around us, like situations that we are put into which are not in our control. Let's say I'm going through a bad health problem. I'm going through a financial loss. I have certain kids who do not listen to me, for example. So this is situations that are not in my control and are giving me a hard time. Let's say unpleasant situations. But suffering is when I decide to be affected by it, when my mental health is affected in that situation, is what I understand. And so this is what we call the third part of, like there's one Adi Devik, Adi Bhautik, and Adi Atmik Kalesha. Misery, right? Kalesha is exactly misery. So Adi Atmik means self-inflicted misery. That misery I have brought upon my own mind. Just like sadhus, I know so many devotees, which I really appreciate. In winters, they will take cold shower, like cold bath. I can't even think about it. But people have that kind of tolerance. And that's what they say, it's all in the mind. But this is a very tangible example. But there could be situations, people have gone through a lot of impediments in life, but they have dealt with it just like we won't even have thought that they're going through such a big problem. So when you don't let your spiritual life, your mental health be affected by it, in fact, you perceive those problems through Shastra, through scriptures, and it gives you the Shakti, it gives you the strength to deal with them. I think that's what I understand.
After 25 years, you've answered the question perfectly.
Jai.
Thank you so much.
Glories to Tamal Krishna Goswami Maharaj. Any question or any?
Hare Krishna, thank you for a nice class. I was in my mind the whole class trying to compare Daksha with Dhruva Maharaj and trying to see where did Daksha go wrong. So we see Daksha also got blessings from Vishnu who appeared, and between the purport and he was pleased and he blessed him that you increase progeny. And with Dhruva Maharaj also, he even if he said I was looking for broken pieces of glasses, he said no, you actually, I'll give you pole star and you rule. And then in the end, somewhere in between, Dhruva Maharaj also got very angry, and for one brother he killed so many yakshas. And here Daksha didn't kill anybody, he just got angry. But somehow I feel like we're seeing Daksha in bad light versus Dhruva Maharaj is always glorified.
Okay, so you feel that this is bad to disglorify Daksha over here as compared to Dhruva Maharaj.
I'm trying to understand where did he go wrong. Like after that also I was just like reading, like so this time he was like, okay, I'm going to have daughters now, so that there's no chance. But he's focused on his service. Like, okay, he's Mishra, he had some desire, but then Krishna instructed him, okay, now you increase progeny, and so he was focused on his service. And then Narada Muni is coming and taking his, I have to dress the deities. No, let's go and hurry now. He almost has the right to get upset.
Yeah, but the thing is that Narad Muni over here performed the highest dharma, that he brought them closer to Krishna. So even if, like it said, that Daksha was a wonderful personality and all the sons were doing great austerities, so they are definitely higher, so much higher than normal people. But still, if that's not bringing you closer to the Supreme Lord, then Narad Muni silently listens to him, and he shows his mercy. At the end, they are getting delivered. Like what the end goal is, they all get delivered, but only when they have mercy of Krishna or the devotee. Yeah.
Yeah, but then Daksha's point that if they don't suffer, it's not going to be realized knowledge if you just tell him. So he was like, he gave logical.
Just like Arjuna in Bhagavad Gita also gave nice logics. He did, yes. He said that unless you experience suffering, you will not be able to realize the reason why you want to escape it or overcome it. But can we still question the mercy of Guru when he wants to show the mercy? His point is right. A jnani, like very logical and all of that. But they were delivered now. They would have been delivered, let's say, 100 births from now, lifetimes from now. But it's the mercy of Narad Muni that he is he's showing the mercy upon them. So I get what you're saying, that he's not completely wrong, but still he crosses a line when he's not realizing the real identity of Narad Muni and what he's actually done. He's getting angry at it. Not even indifferent about it, but angry. Yeah. Yes, that's like even as disciples, we don't get to hear that, okay, don't ask any questions. You have doubts, no, but accept what I say. But Prabhupada is saying just accept it. Sometimes preachers get strong, but no, we welcome questions. We welcome devil's advocate. We welcome all the questions that you have, but like Krishna says, like Prabhupada says in Bhagavad Gita, right? But with you approach a guru, or you approach even reading Bhagavad Gita with the mood of surrender, with the mood of faith. But he's getting angry at Narad Muni. And many times devotees, like you said, that have showcased exemplary services or mood in the past, and now they are falling from it. So that's what I heard from in one lecture from His Holiness Radha Swami Maharaj. He said that it's hard to become humble, but it's even harder to stay humble. So we can be humble in it's not that none of us are humble at any point in time. We might be. You can experience sometimes you're really nice, really, Hare Krishna, so nice to see you, Prabhu, like so nice, and you want to go out of your way to help somebody. But are you in that mood every time and with everybody? Even with that person who's such a pain in your back, like, okay, like this one devotee who keeps finding faults in you, are you humble to them as well? Or you're saying, no, I can be humble to everybody, but not this person. This person has got a problem. So, sorry. The point is that it's difficult to be humble, but it's even more difficult to always be humble. When Ambrish Maharaj was cursed by Durvasa Muni, just because he broke his Ekadashi fast that he was doing for 1 year, only had Channamrit, because it was so strict. Right now we do it so easily, but that fasting earlier, they were so strict and particular about it. And Durvasa Muni, taking bath in the holy river, knows from there only that he has broken his fast, and he comes angry, he's running, and he's like, and then we know that Chakra is following Durvasa Muni, and that happens for 1 year. That Chakra, Sudarshan Chakra, is chasing Durvasa Muni for 1 year. And that 1 year also, Ambrish Maharaj doesn't eat anything. First 1 year he was fasting. Second 1 year he was waiting because my guest has not come back and has not eaten anything. He's still humble. And third part just shows even more humility is that when he prays to Vishnu, that all the benefits, Shukriti, that I have accumulated out of my great deeds or bhakti, using that, please forgive him. Because if you ask for someone for forgiveness, you have to give them something. Why would somebody agree to you? And he said that use my benefits to forgive Durvasa Muni, to let him go. So getting humble has, we think it's just on a face or superficial platform, but humility is really deep in the heart. I don't know if I was able to answer, but okay.
Hare Krishna. You reminded me there of a very important instruction that I heard from His Holiness Radhanath Maharaj in this regard of being humble. We notice when we travel or go to some place new, everyone is so happy to see us. Hare Krishna Prabhu, how have you been? Then after some time, familiarity sets in and perhaps even contempt can form. So Maharaj once said, he said, whatever our positions are, whatever service we've done, whatever, we should always think that each day is our first day in Krishna consciousness. And that will keep us humble. And as I enter the fourth quarter of my life, I think each day may be my last day. So I should relish every opportunity to simply serve others in some humble way. Right. So in either case, the first day or the last day, we will not become over-familiar.
Thank you. That's true. Over-familiarity breaches our humility. Mataji has a question at the back. And somebody said actually that it was Mahanidhi Swami Maharaj that even if you spend so much time with your guru, you have such a bad mentality that you will start finding faults in your guru. That, oh, you know, let's say the guru touched sand and after that did not wash hand. Let's say small thing as that. But that's our mentality that we'll spend so much time with anybody, we'll start finding faults. And that's why mostly in families, and I think that is where you can start being humble within your family situation, because you're spending time with your family 24/7. When you start practicing humility there, that is when it can actually come out in front of strangers or people around us. Yes, I think Mike.
Just follow up on the question on Mataji was asking, like, what went wrong between Daksha and Dhruv Maharaj. Just my 2 cents, and not to justify anger. Of course, we always have a choice whether we want to react to a situation in Rajogun or Sattvagun, just to understand the difference. I think Dhruv Maharaj his anger was due to injustice. I mean, when they killed his brother, it was not for a higher purpose. So there was an injustice and he expressed his anger. And with Daksha, I think what went wrong was because, first of all, Narada Muni was a Vaishnava, and getting angry on a Vaishnava is an offense. And also, Narada Muni was not doing any injustice because he knew that he was working for the higher purpose of the soul. And the soul was also not ready. It's not like he realized that these souls are ready to take that higher purpose. He was not forcing on them, or he was not misdirecting on them. He knew the soul was ready, and he was working with the higher purpose of the soul. So I think maybe that's why Daksha's anger was not right, because he was a pure Vaishnava. And also Narada Muni, because he's a realized soul, he realized these souls are ready to take it up, and he knew the best, what's the best for the soul. And but that with Dhruv Maharaj's case, actually he was fighting against injustice, and whatever happened was not for the higher purpose of the soul of his brother.
Thank you so much, Mataji. Yes, that's true. Like, yeah, thank you for that. In a lot of translations, purports above, everywhere it was said in the previous verses, I think which was covered yesterday or day before, that when Narad Muni instructed them, there was no explanation that was required for the sons to understand. Because yes, like you said, it was then in their nature to reach that path, to follow it. It was so natural for them. So yeah, that's why it was not an injustice. Yeah. Thank you for that. Thank you, Prabhuji.
I think everyone heard.
No, you can repeat for the online viewers.
I was saying, like, Srila Prabhupada defeats Daksha's philosophy in the purport to 6.5.41. Like how his philosophy is flawed about whatever he's presenting. I can actually quickly read it. This is purport to 6.5.41. It is said that unless a woman becomes pregnant, she cannot understand the trouble of giving birth to a child. Bandhya ki bujibe prashava vedhana. The word bandhya means a sterile woman. Such a woman cannot give birth to a child. How then can she perceive the pain of delivery? According to the philosophy of Prajapati Daksha, a woman should first become pregnant and then experience the pain of childbirth. Then, if she is intelligent, she will not want to be pregnant again. Actually, however, this is not a fact. Sex enjoyment is so strong that a woman becomes pregnant and suffers at the time of childbirth, but she becomes pregnant again despite her experience. According to Daksha's philosophy, one should not become implicated in material enjoyment, so that after experiencing the distress of such enjoyment, one will automatically renounce. Material nature, however, is so strong that although a man suffers at every step, he will not cease his attempts to enjoy. Triptyanti neha kripana bahu dukkha bhaja. Under the circumstances, unless one gets the association of a devotee like Narada Muni or his servant in the disciplic succession, one's dormant spirit of renunciation cannot be awakened. It is not a fact that because material enjoyment involves so many painful conditions, one will automatically become detached. One needs the blessings of a devotee like Narada Muni. Then one can renounce his attachment for the material world. The young boys and girls of the Krishna consciousness movement have given up the spirit of material enjoyment not because of practice, but by the mercy of Lord Shri Chaitanya and his servants.
Jai. Thank you so much, Prabhuji. Let's wrap it up here. It's almost time. It's over time. Jai. Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhyaiva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Anant Koti Vaishnav Bhaktivinoda ki jai. Shri Radha Kalachandji ki jai. Shri Prabhupada ki jai. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai.